Alright everyone, I'm just almost done fixing my 1972 Frigidaire, product of General Motors, Jet Action 118 washing machine. The outer bellows, which is this little rubber thing here, was damaged by a nail that ended up in my pocket and ended up in the bottom of the washing machine. I don't know if you can see. Let me try to find it. I think it's that little spot right there, little puncture there. So what that ended up doing was it caused a very tiny, tiny leak. Not enough to put any water on the floor, but it got into the piece that makes the spin cycle work. So I wasn't able to spin. I haven't seen any videos on this on YouTube, so that's why I'm making this now. The reason I'm starting partway into the process is because this was a learning experience for me, because this washing machine is almost 50 years old, and I had to figure out how to do it first. Good resource, if you check it out online, is automaticwasher.org, and a website called davesrepair.com. If you're viewing this on my blog, just scroll down at the comments. If you're viewing this on YouTube, look in the description, because I'll post links to both of those, as well as everything that I've kind of figured out here. The only thing I did differently from the original Frigidaire was the snap ring here. I ended up using one of these things here instead. The reason I did that is because the pliers that's supposed to be used to get that snap ring to lock with each other was discontinued decades ago, and it's near impossible to find. At least nobody's selling it online as of this moment. So if you ever find one of those, grab it, because they're rare. You can see a picture of what they're supposed to look like at davesrepair.com. So I'm just kind of did a test here. I was testing the agitator. So that's what that does there. This was just my test to make sure that I got everything sealed and nothing was leaking. So now I'm going to spin this empty, and then I'll get back to putting the rest of the agitator back together. If you want to see how I got the agitator off, just basically look at what I do to put it back on, do it in reverse. The only thing is the nut on the agitator that holds it on is almost impossible to get off. It's very tight and stuck on there. What I did that got it off, and no, it's not anything you see in the video right now, was I used one of these little propane torches, and I heated up the nut, and then I was able to remove it okay. So I'm going to stop this video now, empty the washing machine, and then I'll pick it up from there. Alright, so the washing machine's empty, so I'm going to start putting things back together. Before I do, I just wanted to make a note that I forgot to mention earlier about the outer bellows. This here's the old one, but on the new ones, sometimes the rubber shrinks a tiny bit, and it doesn't nicely go on to the piece down there. One thing that I did to get around that was kind of soak it in hot water, and I also grabbed a little plastic cup, and I just kind of stretched it out a little bit, and then I was able to put it on quickly before it shrunk back to where it was. So if anybody gets to that step and they can't get that bottom part on, it's because the rubber shrinks just a teeny bit, and you got to stretch it out a little bit before it'll go on properly. Alright, so what I just did was I just put this piece back on there. Above that is a little washer, little O-ring. An O-ring, and then a washer on top, and then a nut. And that right there just sits right there. And then the next thing was the agitator. which goes on there. And then this little nut right here, this is the piece I was talking about that I had to heat up with the blowtorch, because it gets stuck and it's just a pain. You also got to kind of carefully hold this here, because like it will turn the tub. I'm just going to hand tighten this, and then I'm going to have to tighten it properly after it's done. But you'll see that I'm going to start turning the tub now once it gets to that point. Very important, don't pull on the JetCone, because if you break it, good luck finding a new one, because this design was discontinued. I think it was 79 or 80 when Frigidaire got sold from General Motors to whoever they got sold to. I'd have to look it up, I'm not quite sure. So let me get the rest of my tools ready and I'll pick it up from here. Alright, so I'm using a size 19 on my socket set, and it's going to be hard for me to do while holding the camera. Basically you tighten it, you know, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And let me put the camera down so I can finish tightening this properly, and then I'll come back. Okay, so now I've gotten that all nice and tight. And then the next thing I do is basically just put everything back in, and I set my parts on the floor. So this piece here goes in right there. Oops. And then the agitator cap just screws on like that. And now we're ready to test out the machine and make sure everything's working. And while that's filling up, I'll just show you a bit more about this washing machine. This one's got the control panel, so I've got cold, warm, and hot, rinse and soak temperature, cold and warm, agitator speeds, the load selector. If you're ever going up, make sure you go to reset, and then you go back down to whatever you want. And then you got the wash cycles. There's regular, soak, and permanent press. This little button here just turns the light on and off. And I'm going to do a quick test with it empty, just to make sure, again, nothing's leaking. And then I'm going to put some clothes in here and we'll do a quick wash. Alright, so here's the agitator going up and down. That's what it is when it's slow. For this repair, I did not have to do anything under the washing machine, but I did open up the front panel just so that I could check anything for leaks. There's the mechanism right there that makes the agitator work, if anyone interested. I don't see any water down there, so it looks like I got everything sealed properly. For anybody that ever needs to open this, this is the cover right here. You can see the little notches here. They go in there on both sides, and then you just slide it up, and then there's 3 screws at the bottom, one on each side and one in the middle. I'm going to put this back on, and then I'll drain the machine, and then I'm going to do the actual load of laundry. Alright, so I got the machine all put back together. I'm just going to drain it now. Alright, so I'm ready to do a load of laundry now. I know this video is kind of all over the place, so sorry about that. I'm just trying to do the best video I can on this. I'm not a professional washing machine repair person. This is something I figured out on my own and asking help from others. So I kind of figured this out. That's why I didn't do this start to finish. I kind of picked up almost at the end. One other note I wanted to make, which is unrelated to this repair, but just something I want to throw out there for anybody that might have this machine and may have another problem. One thing that I had to do several years ago was my timer stopped advancing. I could manually turn it and have it advance, but it would not turn on its own. After taking the timer apart and trying to reverse engineer that thing, I ended up figuring out what it was. There's a little plastic gear inside the timer motor, which goes bad with age. And assuming when you're watching this video, Dave at Dave's Repair is still online, which as of right now he is, he sells a little brass gear that he makes by hand that replaces that plastic gear that breaks. So definitely, if you're having that particular issue, do that. I'm not going to take this thing apart and show it to you because that's just more effort than I want to do at the moment. But again, if you're doing anything in there with the control panel back there, there's 4 screws, 2 on each side in the back. As far as take pictures of the wires so you can see where everything goes. And I do have a user's manual for these washing machines, which if you're viewing this on my blog, you can find it below. If you're viewing this on YouTube, you can go to my blog by clicking the link that'll be in the show notes. That'll take you right to this post.